Ooh, I think it's the first time I'm going to say this out loud. I photographed Annie Leibovitz. Context. She is arguably the most iconic photographer of all time now. She just re-released her book, Annie Leibovitz at Work. So I heard she was doing a book signing one time only in New York, and I was going to be in New York. And so I reached out to the bookstore and I was like, is there a chance that I can do a portrait of her with her books, at the signing, either before or after or during, whatever's accessible. But I've always wanted to find a way to document her surrounded by her work, not in my studio, but, her studio, or in this case, surrounded by her books. The last few minutes before I got to make the image, I couldn't think, I had done my tests. I knew I had the look that I wanted. So I was ready, but also not ready. I don't know what I was going to say. I didn't know how she was going to receive me. So I was just like freaking out a little bit, kind of like I am right now, just thinking about it again. But she was lovely and warm, as she always is, every time we hang out. And I reconfirmed with her. I was like, is it okay, if I take this image of you? She was like, yeah, of course, do what you got to do. So I had my Hasselblad with a 35 millimeter. And so first thing she says isn't even hi. She's like, what do you got there? Is that a Hasselblad? Yes, it is. I almost started crying right then and there because I was like, I'm talking to Annie about photo stuff. I didn't want to interrupt her, so I said, I don't want to bother you. Do what you got to do too. When I was taking the images, I suddenly remembered this photo she took of Hillary Clinton, where Annie mentions that Hillary asked if she could just keep working while she photographed her. And the book is titled Annie Leibovitz at Work. I didn't ask her to look at the camera, to look at me. I hadn't really understood it or thought about it until that moment. I was like, oh, you know what I have to do is nothing except sort of just be present. So I just stood there and she talked about how she really liked this book. And I was like, I love this book too. And we talked very, very briefly about a couple of things. And then after I took the photo, I got my own book and she signed it and personalized it. I almost don't want to touch it, even flying. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't planning on this. I don't know how to protect this. I don't know if I'll ever fully process that I made this image. Top 3 moments of my life thus far. It's something I never thought would have been possible. So as you can imagine, this book is now what I most value and love in this world. Except for my family and friends. For my tech people, I photographed this with my Hasselblad 907X100C, this is heavy, with a 35mm lens equivalent, and it's a mixture of the available light with one strobe that's just bouncing off this corner on the ceiling, giving her this nice soft side light.